G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass and Room for Woodwork. Now, to dispel any confusion, Woodworking Masterclass is done in my workshop, which is down the back, and it's fully equipped with machineries and tools and power tools, whereas Room for Woodwork is actually filmed in the corner of a bedroom in the home where I live. The idea being, a lot of people live in flats, walk-ups, units, apartments, or maybe it's too cold to get down to the shed, but they still want to do woodwork. What I want to do in the immediate future is to share some parts of Room for Woodwork with the Woodworking Masterclass people that enjoy that show. And there might be some people within that audience that, I don't know, could be you, who knows. You want to do woodwork, but you don't have the space and you don't think you can do it where you live. This is to show you that it can be done. Please enjoy part one of how to make this frame. We've even got glass cutting in there as well. And if you want to watch the rest of how the frame was made, please check out Room for Woodwork and become a subscriber. G'day, I'm Steve and welcome to Room for Woodwork, and it's my intention over the coming months and hopefully years to build an entire house full of furniture in this space. My wife does a lot of embroidery work. She enjoys machine embroidery and wants a frame made for it. So I said, not a problem, we'll knock a frame up. So here we go, first major project. Now all I've got is, what's this, 42 mil, sort of inch and a half standard timber. This is myrtle, but you could use pine, you could use Meranti, you could use poplar, whatever you can get your hands on. This frame here that I'm looking at least 300 long and 200 wide. We might go 600. Better to have a little bit too much than not enough. Mark that across. And what I like to do too, if I'm going to saw this, which I will, is I like to put a knife cut along there. And what that knife cut will do, will allow the saw to be central so it won't deviate off track when I'm sawing it. And just to be doubly sure, you can get a chisel and on the saw side do a little bevel. So that means that the saw will then sit in that nice little groove and it'll give us a nice square end that we want here. In this case it's not as important because we're going to cut miters on it to join it together in square. A couple of ways you can do these. Again, you could use a jigsaw if you wanted. You could use a Japanese saw, and you can see how nicely that just sits in that slot I made. Couple of cuts. Once more, this Japanese saw, I got it from Japanese Tools Australia. Check them out online there, Japanese Tools Australia. And there are other ones around, but this is a particularly nice one. So that's one piece we've got, which we'll do along here and up here, and we need two pieces. So that's using an ordinary saw. You can use a back saw, not a Japanese saw. I personally quite like the Japanese saws. Or you can use a saw box. Now this is a very elaborate one. This is a Nobex one, and during the coming projects over the next few months, hopefully years, I'll be using this one a lot, mainly because I can do compound cuts on it as well as different miters. I can also do a compound cut, which we'll get into later on and I'll show you. But For those of you that have seen Woodworking Masterclass, I've got a really old Stanley saw box which will do the same job as this, and it's down the shed. It doesn't do compounds. I've got a table saw that'll do compounds and a docking saw, whereas this one will. That's why this one's up here. Now these, when you use them, very similar to a bow saw. You've got to put a lot of tension on the top, or else it's like trying to shoot pool with a piece of rope. It will not cut straight at all, but you tension that up with this tension bar and it will give you a beautiful cut. And there you have it. You obviously have to make your own platform up, but the good thing is I just found out then, this is a whole new learning experience for me. I think it's fantastic. Is if I'm sawing and this base, well, all the sawdust's going to fall on there, so therefore it's a lot easier to clean up. Just put this to one side. Now in order to make the frame up, what I've got to do is put a rebate in here so the backing and also the glass and embroidery can sit nice and flat. So when the embroidery, the glass is in there, the embroidery, then the backing, and then it'll fit flat against the wall. Now there's several ways you can do that as well. And I might be introducing you to tools you've never seen before. They might be tools that you have, but they're definitely tools that you can buy, and a lot of them you can buy off the auction sites like, I don't know, eBay and such like that. It's just a question of keeping your eye open. Now the first one you can use is what they call a Stanley 45, and it comes with a set of different cutters, 23 cutters. Some have a profile on them and some are square. The other thing you can use is, I'll just get them all out for you. It's quite an array of things you can have. I use, instead of a marking gauge, I actually use a cutting gauge. And what that does, when I mark, it actually gives me a defined line that down the track, I can use this. Now you might not be familiar with this particular tool. It's called a snipe bill, and if you're serious about getting into furniture making or woodworking in the home, it's something down the track you want to seriously consider investing in, and you will see why in future projects. This particular one is H&T Gordon, and you can check them out there, htgordon.com.au. Same with the marking gauge, you get that from there. This is a rebate plane, H&T Gordon once again, and I'll show you how we can use that. This is a shoulder plane, H&T Gordon. Very similar initially to look at to the rebate plane, except the rebate's got a skew blade and can take good size shavings, and the shoulder plane has a much finer mouth, so it can't take as big a shaving. The old woman's tooth, or the Stanley 71s. This particular one is a Veritas one, and the reason I went for this is I've got a 71 and a 71.5 in my main workshop, but what I'm trying to do is get a complete set of tools in the house as well, and believe me, it hasn't been a cheap exercise. It's cost me a lot of money to duplicate them, but I think it's important, well, from my point of view, I'm not pulling tools from the workshop up to here, but also from your point of view, you know that someone else has gone to the expense and gone through the experience of finding out what they need and what works and what doesn't work. So it might save you a little bit of pain. Now I'm going to be using a tail vise. In many instances you can get away with just using a normal bench vise, but I would suggest you have a support or something up here, and that again is something I'm going to make in the show to show you how you can extend the use of your bench vise so you can put longer pieces in it. First thing we have to do is work out how far in we want to go. Well, the cutter I've got in, the 45, is 12mm, and the rebate plane I've got 1/2 inch. So what I'll do is set this up for just a smidgen under 1/2 inch. I'll pick the underside, which is this, and I'll cut up and mark. I'll I'll do the same to the other piece. Now I've got to work out how deep I want these rebates to be. If I'm using 2mm glass, 3mm backing, I'm going to allow, I think, a mil or 2mm for this. So what's that? 2mm, 3mm, 5mm, 6mm, 7mm. If I leave, say, 10mm, that's going to be more than enough for me to put the glass in, to put the design in, put my backing board in, and I'll use some push pins, and then it's still going to be flat on the wall. So I'll reset this to 10mm. And these rules, by the way, oh, yeah, I love them. On the end, they've actually got measurement there. They're made by Interwood, and they also make these pretty squish squares that come in metric and imperial. Check them out. interwood.com.au. Innovations in woodworking tools, I think they are. Yep, made in Australia too, very nice. Now we've got to set the depth. And you can see I'm getting a definite good mark there. If you want to watch the entire process of making this, again, please go to Room for Woodwork, log in, and it's there to watch in its entirety. Become a subscriber and keep up to date with everything we do. There are also some pretty handy little videos on there about how to find out if things are square, how to cut glass properly, how to make rebates, and very short little videos that will give you some ideas and insights of working within the home. H&T Gordon & Company, Classic Plate Makers, Tormek, T4, Japanese Tools Australia, Promac, Lebron Finishing Products, IMUF, Safety First, Nobex, and the Plano Planting System.